doing laundry. Morning, guys. This the hell you doing here? Why? What's wrong? Is there any problem? If you don't like me, then don't watch.
documentary files. In Hong Kong's Buddhist community, Po Lin Monastery has long been known as a temple, with centuries of history and widespread respect. It's not only home to the famous Tiantan Buddha statue, but also stands as an important symbol of spiritual culture in the region. However, in 2015, a shocking incident occurred that quickly thrust this temple into the spotlight of public scrutiny. A female disciple who had formally ordained and taken vows at Po Lin Monastery was suddenly arrested by police. As soon as her identity was revealed, the media immediately dubbed her the worldly nun, due to behavior that completely contradicted the image of a religious practitioner. This incident not only shocked and outraged the public, but also planted deep doubts in the hearts of Buddhist followers about the true purity of the temple. On October 14, 2015, Hong Kong police conducted a surprise raid on a luxury villa in the Beverly Hills area of Tai Po district. The villa was worth 30 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 3.8 million US dollars, and served as the residence of Shi Zhiding, the abbess of Ting Wai Monastery. At the scene, police arrested her along with two other men. One was a monk practicing at the temple, and the other was a man from mainland China. Notably, both men had previously entered into sham marriages with the abbess. Although she always appeared in public with the dignified demeanor expected of a religious practitioner, the truth behind the facade was entirely different. She was discovered to have arranged two fake marriages to help these men fraudulently obtain Hong Kong residency rights. Beyond that, she brazenly used donation money that devoted followers had sincerely offered to purchase luxury items for herself, from designer handbags to expensive high-end cosmetics. She was even caught in a completely different guise, wearing a wig, dressed in black stockings, and secretly frequenting nightclubs. Through their investigation, police discovered that she not only showed signs of violating immigration regulations, but had also been openly embezzling temple funds for years to support her extravagant lifestyle. Her real life was the complete opposite of the image of a pure religious practitioner that she had always projected to others. The outrageous and brazen actions of this abbess sparked a wave of public outrage, not only tarnishing the reputation of Buddhism, but also forcing Hong Kong society to seriously reconsider the oversight and management of institutions. The performance she had staged for so many years, appearing to be an ordained practitioner while actually hoarding money, was finally exposed and quickly became the most sensational religious scandal in Hong Kong that year. So how exactly did this abbess of Ting Wai Monastery manage to deceive the senior monks of Po Lin Monastery step by step, successfully taking vows and draping herself in the pure robes of Buddhism? And when did she quietly begin walking a path of greed that went against Buddhist teachings? Chanting sutras by day, drowning in luxury by night. How many secrets and lies did her double life conceal? Shi Jiding's real name was Shi Aiwen, which she later changed to Lung Yan Loi. She was born around the 1970s into a poor farming family in a remote rural area of Jilin Province, China. The first half of her life could be seen as a classic story of someone from the lowest rungs of society trying to climb their way up from nothing. From childhood, her family's circumstances were extremely dire. Day after day, she knew only corn porridge to fill her stomach, and she couldn't even afford a decent cotton jacket to keep warm during the bitter cold winters. She only completed middle school before having to drop out and stay home to help her parents work the fields to scrape by. However, deep in the young girl's heart, she always secretly nurtured a different dream. At that time, the entire village had only one black and white television, and every time images of Hong Kong appeared on the screen, with its towering skyscrapers and dazzling neon lights, her eyes would light up in an unusual way. She would often squat by the stove, her hands steadily adding firewood while her mind drifted far away. She would bite her lip and silently tell herself that one day she would definitely escape this poor, remote countryside and become a wealthy, distinguished person dripping with gold and silver, like the people she saw on TV. That desire to change her fate smoldered inside her for many years, growing stronger with time until nothing could extinguish it. Finally, when she turned 26, she made a decisive choice. She packed her meager belongings, left her hometown, and boarded a train heading south alone to begin her journey to Hong Kong, hoping to change her destiny. In 1993, at exactly 26 years old, Shi Iwen arrived at the Lo Wu border crossing alone, clutching a one-way permit. This was her first time in Hong Kong, carrying so many hopes for a better life. However, harsh reality quickly came crashing down on her. With only a middle school education, she found it nearly impossible to find any decent work in this glamorous city. During her first days in Hong Kong, she had to live in a cramped, shabby room in the Sham Shui Po district, less than 54 square feet in size, barely enough space to lie down. To earn money for daily expenses, she found work washing dishes at a nearby tea restaurant. The work was grueling, and the pay was low, but she gritted her teeth and endured. Difficulties piled upon difficulties, as she couldn't speak Cantonese at all. Because of her different accent, she was constantly looked down upon and treated with contempt. Once, a customer deliberately splashed hot soup on her hand, causing severe burns. That was one of the most humiliating moments she had to endure during her early days struggling in a foreign land. Later, during an interrogation, when recalling those difficult times, she said that it was precisely at that moment of being treated so cruelly that she swore to herself that no matter what it took, she would definitely establish herself in Hong Kong. When she first arrived in Hong Kong, Iwen immediately faced the harsh challenges of life in this glamorous metropolis. She had no qualifications, couldn't speak Cantonese at all, and had no professional skills that would help stable employment. With such limitations, she could only struggle with manual labor jobs at the bottom of society, doing all kinds of hard work that others didn't want to do. However, Iwen clearly understood that if she continued like this, she would never be able to get ahead. What she needed first was to obtain legal residency rights in Hong Kong. Through a friend's introduction, she decided to enter a marriage with a local man. This man was a Hong Kong truck driver named Chen Weirong, more than 20 years her senior. This marriage lasted for 7 years, and in 2000, after meeting all the residency requirements, Iwen finally obtained the Hong Kong permanent resident ID card she had long desired. However, from the very beginning, this marriage was purely an arrangement based on mutual benefit, with no real feelings involved whatsoever. After the wedding, Shi Iwen and Chen Weirong essentially lived completely separate lives. They rarely stayed under the same roof and had no real married life like normal couples. Their relationship existed only on paper. The moment she had the Hong Kong permanent resident ID card in hand, Iwen immediately proceeded with divorce proceedings without any hesitation or reluctance. According to those who knew the situation, to end this relationship smoothly, she even paid a settlement to her ex-husband. In the end, this marriage had always been an arrangement where each party simply took what they needed. Chen Weirong likely received a sum of money, while Iwen achieved her goal of obtaining legal residency in Hong Kong. Regardless, this first marriage marked an extremely important turning point in her life and laid the foundation for her subsequent identity changes. Actually, regarding Iwen's early days of struggling to make a living, there's another version of the story circulating. At that time, trade between Shenzhen and Hong Kong was extremely busy and bustling. Goods from Hong Kong were constantly being shipped to Shenzhen, especially clothing. Many fashion stores in Shenzhen sourced their wholesale inventory from Hong Kong. Because of this high demand, clothing wholesalers in Hong Kong had trucks delivering goods to Shenzhen almost every day. Among the truck drivers who regularly ran this route was a man named Chen Weirong. He often delivered goods to the commercial area where Iwen was working, so the two gradually became acquainted. In Weirong's eyes, Iwen was simply a young, petite, pretty girl with an innocent and gentle appearance. This Hong Kong man, much older than her, gradually became the target she set her sights on. Eventually, with Chen Weirong's help, Iwen used marriage as the reason to apply for immigration to Hong Kong. However, since this marriage had no official record stored on the Hong Kong side, and so many years have passed, the actual truth is now difficult to verify. On one chance occasion, Iwen had the opportunity to meet several fellow countrymen from northeastern China. Through conversations with them, she learned information that caught her attention considerably. It turned out that in Hong Kong, becoming ordained as a monastic didn't require high education or academic credentials. Moreover, Temples not only provided free room and board, but also had stable income from devotees' donations. Most importantly, the status of a religious practitioner not only brought respectability, but also earned respect from society. After carefully weighing her current circumstances against the path ahead, in 1999, Iwin decided to begin studying Buddhism. To integrate into the group of people studying Buddhist teachings, she told her master and those around her about her background. However, she had embellished and fabricated parts of this story, making it half true and half false, sounding extremely tragic and pitiful in order to gain everyone's sympathy. The real turning point in Iwin's fate came in 2002. By this time, she had changed her name to Loy and went to Po Lin Monastery to volunteer. Throughout her time there, she appeared extremely diligent and hardworking. She proactively took on the most strenuous menial tasks that no one else wanted to do. Every day, she was the first to arrive at the temple and the last to leave. She presented herself as someone both clever and industrious, who also knew how to behave properly and respectfully toward everyone. It was precisely because of these qualities that she quickly gained the favor of the sixth abbot of Po Lin Monastery. Recognizing that a golden opportunity was presenting itself, Iwin became even more determined to seize it. She frequently found ways to approach the abbot, using the excuse of wanting to learn more about Buddhist teachings. Later, as the elderly abbot's dementia became increasingly severe, combined with his advanced age making it difficult for him to move around and take care of himself, Iwin proactively stepped up to take charge of caring for him. From preparing his daily meals to bathing and personal hygiene, she did everything without showing any reluctance about getting dirty or tired. Finally, her persistence and tireless efforts truly moved the senior monks in the temple. They saw in this woman an admirable determination and a sincere heart devoted to Buddhism. At least that's how it appeared on the surface. In 2002, this woman who had once worked the fields in rural northeastern China was formally ordained, shaving her head and taking refuge in Buddhism. She was granted ordination papers by Po Lin Monastery and given the Dharma name Jiding. To explain briefly, ordination papers are a Buddhist term referring to the official certificate of precepts that a temple or monastic community issues to someone who has completed the ordination process. It can be understood simply as a type of identification card, specifically for religious practitioners. That same year, the abbot of Po Lin Monastery, who was also serving concurrently as the head of Tingwai Monastery, decided to promote and appoint her as the abbess of Tingwai Monastery. In just a short time, she had risen from a mere volunteer to hold a high position in the Buddhist hierarchy. So how exactly was she exposed, and how did everything unravel? For the convenience of following this story, from here on we will consistently refer to her by her Dharma name, Jiding. During a period of rapid economic development in Hong Kong, Jiding was very skillful in building a positive public image for herself. She positioned herself as a steadfast religious practitioner, someone willing to protect the pure land of Buddhism at any cost. Once, a real estate developer set their sights on the prime location of Tingwai Monastery. They made an offer to purchase the entire property for several hundred million Hong Kong dollars, with plans to demolish the old temple and build a bustling commercial district in its place. However, as the abbess of the temple, Jiding displayed an extremely firm attitude. She flatly refused this lucrative offer without showing any hesitation or wavering. In media interviews, she declared that money was merely an external possession with no meaning to a practitioner like herself. She said that rather than give up this enormous benefit, she would preserve a pure spiritual sanctuary for all beings so they would have a place for spiritual refuge. She also vowed to continue spreading Buddhist teachings so that more and more people could benefit from the enlightenment and spiritual purification that Buddhism provides. These seemingly noble and holy words of hers touched the hearts of countless devotees. She not only gained the respect and admiration of the general public, but also succeeded in building a personal image of purity and dignity across various media platforms. Thanks to this growing reputation, she had opportunities to establish connections with many famous and influential figures in society. The number of to Tingwai Monastery to offer incense and donations grew increasingly crowded, forming endless lines. But the truth was completely different from what she showed on the outside. Jiding was not someone unmoved by the enormous sum of several hundred million Hong Kong dollars. She didn't refuse because of nobility or virtue. The real reason was that she understood perfectly well that the real estate developer actually purchased the land of Tingwai Monastery. That entire enormous sum would be transferred directly to the Buddhist Association's account. The money would be used to relocate and rebuild the temple at a different location. Ultimately, not a single dollar would flow into her personal pocket. Additionally, the actual situation of Tingwai Monastery in recent years wasn't very promising. On the surface, incense offerings appeared to be thriving, with pilgrims coming and going busily, but in reality, the temple hadn't been properly renovated even once in over 10 years. The shrine halls were becoming increasingly dilapidated, walls were peeling and mottled, and the surrounding environment was growing more desolate by the day. Some senior monks in the Buddhist community had spoken up to criticize and question her about this issue, asking why the temple wasn't being maintained when so much donation money was being collected. Jiding had also calculated carefully that if the temple were relocated and rebuilt elsewhere, the position of abbess would certainly have to be rearranged and reassigned from scratch. At that point, all the status and power she had painstakingly built over so many years would vanish into thin air in an instant. It was precisely because of these calculations of personal interest that she made the decisive choice to refuse that lucrative deal. Yet ironically, her action of refusing money to keep the temple inadvertently created an extremely positive image for her in the public's eyes. Everyone thought she was a genuine religious practitioner, completely unmoved by money, always firmly upholding the pure rules of Buddhism. Thanks to this, in the hearts of devotees, she became a venerable master with firm principles and deep spiritual cultivation. In the eyes of many devotees, a temple that had deteriorated severely over the years and needed restoration was something worth caring deeply about. They believed that supporting Buddhism and contributing money to repair temples was a great and meaningful merit. Because of this thinking, everyone was very generous with their money, proactively donating without needing anyone to campaign or appeal multiple times. Good news travels fast, and more devotees from everywhere heard of Jiding's reputation and came to Tingwai Monastery to burn incense and pray. Among them was the famous Hong Kong entertainment star, Mary Jean Reimer. When she heard the story of how Jiding had firmly refused the real estate developer's offer to buy the temple at such an astronomical price, Mary was deeply impressed and developed great respect for this abbess. She decided to personally visit Tingwai Monastery to offer incense and worship, and to meet face-to-face with the person she admired. However, the moment she stepped through the temple gates, the sight before her left Mary stunned. The shrine halls were crumbling and tilting, walls were peeling over large areas, and both inside and outside showed signs of serious termite damage. The entire temple had the decrepit, desolate appearance of a structure that hadn't been maintained for many years, looking like it might collapse at any moment. As someone with a sense of responsibility to the community and motivated by her own Buddhist faith, Mary proactively offered to help Tingwai Monastery with fundraising efforts to restore the temple. During the period from February to March 2015, she made 3 donations totaling 550,000 Hong Kong dollars, approximately US dollars. This money was used to pay for the temple's daily utility bills, rebuild the back courtyard area, and carry out the most urgent repairs. As for Jiding, she simply was just like any other enthusiastic donor, generously giving money as an offering, so she happily accepted without thinking much about it. Afterward, the two met frequently to discuss fundraising and temple renovation plans. During these meetings, Jiding would often explain Buddhist teachings to Mary. The relationship between them thus became close and connected for a time. That same month, Mary decided to leverage her influence to help the temple even more. She used her personal social media accounts to launch a fundraising campaign for Tingwai Monastery. Not stopping there, she had someone design a dedicated website for broader publicity and outreach. This website published complete information introducing the Abba Jiding story, as well as the severely deteriorated condition of Tingwai Monastery. Mary even appeared personally in a video appeal, using her own voice and credibility to encourage people to contribute to the temple. Thanks to the powerful promotion from a famous star like Mary, information about the fundraising campaign spread rapidly everywhere. Many pilgrims from all regions were willing to open their wallets and contribute when they heard the news. The results were truly remarkable. In an extremely short time, Tingwai Monastery raised over 1.3 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 167,000 US dollars. With this amount, restoring the entire temple would be more than sufficient. All the donated funds were transferred directly to the temple's official bank account. Given her enormous contributions, with everyone's unanimous nomination, Mary was appointed to serve as the supervisor for Tingwai Monastery's fundraising project. As for Zhiding, to express her deep gratitude for everything Mary had done, she personally invited Mary to join the temple's board of directors, officially becoming one of the board members of Tingwai Monastery. However, when Mary began taking over the work and conducting an audit of the temple's financial records, she discovered a serious problem. The accounting documents were extremely messy and disorganized, with many income and expense entries recorded in a vague and unclear manner. The deeper she delved into the audit, the more Mary felt something wasn't right. According to the figures recorded in the books, in 2010, Tingwai Monastery's bank account had a balance of up to 6.7 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 860,000 US dollars. Yet in just 5 years, by 2015, this figure had plummeted to a mere 700,000 Hong Kong dollars, approximately 90,000 US dollars. Where had this enormous sum of $6 million evaporated to? This was the big question Mary was determined to find the answer to. Continuing to scrutinize each expense item more carefully, Mary noticed a clearly abnormal pattern. Starting from 2009, the temple's expenses began skyrocketing inexplicably. Take the miscellaneous expenses category, for example. In 2009, it was only 90 recorded in the book. Recorded in the book. No small sum. Meanwhile, the donation money that pilgrims had contributed specifically for renovation purposes was only about $1.3 million. Theoretically, with such an enormous amount having been spent, the temple should have been beautifully restored long ago. Yet the reality before her eyes was completely the opposite. Tingwai Monastery remained in a state of ruin and disrepair, with virtually no change compared to before the money was supposedly spent on repairs. So where did that $2.7 million actually go? Even more ironic was that Zhiding herself had publicly declared to the media multiple times that the temple had deteriorated severely over the years, and at one point was even so poor it couldn't afford to pay the electricity bills. Such contradictory statements made it impossible for Mary not to raise questions. Not stopping there, as Mary continued to dig deeper and more thoroughly into the books, she discovered yet another suspicious transfer of $600,000. According to the records, this money was donated to a temple called Namshan Temple, located in Changjiang District, China. However, when Mary tried to search for and verify information about this temple, she couldn't find any trace or actual information proving its existence. It seemed this temple didn't actually exist in reality. Around this same time, many longtime volunteers and devoted followers of Tingwai Monastery also began speaking up. They came to Mary one after another to file complaints and express their dissatisfaction, raising questions about the problems in the financial records as well as the chaotic management of the temple under Zhiding's leadership as abbess. Facing this mounting pile of suspicions, Mary felt deeply shaken inside. She had wholeheartedly helped and supported Zhiding, someone she had once greatly admired and trusted. Could it really be that this woman draped in Buddhist robes with her outward appearance of compassion and virtue was actually a greedy fraud? Unable to suppress the anger seething inside her, she silently resolved that no matter what, she would investigate and uncover the truth behind all of this. However, the deeper she investigated, the more the exposed truths left her completely devastated. It turned out that the chaotic bookkeeping and shady expenses she had discovered were merely the tip of the iceberg. Hidden behind those numbers were actions far worse, secrets far darker and more vile than anything she could have imagined. The truth was that Zeding had long ago, right under her robes of compassion and dignity, quietly walked a path that completely strayed from the righteous way of Buddhism. Previously, under the arrangement and trust of the abbot of Polin Monastery, Zeding had been assigned to serve as the abbess of Tingwai Monastery, a temple under Polin Monastery's management. But once removed from her master's supervision and restraint, when she had to face alone the ever-increasing flow of donation money from pilgrims, Zeding finally couldn't resist temptation. Her true nature, which she had worked so hard to conceal for so many years, gradually began to emerge. At that time, there were still some righteous nuns in the temple. They recognized the abnormalities in Zeding's behavior and tried to speak up to stop her, hoping to curb some of her wrongful actions. However, Zeding was not someone easily dealt with. She had anticipated this situation early on. Rather than waiting to be exposed, she turned around and falsely accused these very righteous nuns, framing them for misusing and embezzling the temple's donation money. With power in her hands, she quickly expelled all these people from the temple. After eliminating those who could cause obstacles, she immediately brought in her own trusted and loyal people to fill the vacant positions. From on, Zeding had complete control of Tingwai Monastery in the palm of her hand, becoming the person with authority over all matters large and small in the temple, with no one daring to obstruct or question her. To avoid suspicion and continue winning the trust of devotees, during her early period as abbess, Zeding still appeared very proper. She spent a small amount of money on superficial repairs of some items in the temple, trying to build the image of a practitioner sincerely devoted to Buddha, wholeheartedly dedicated to spreading the Dharma. This tactic worked. Devotees gradually trusted her completely and no longer raised any questions. However, once she had gained absolute trust from everyone, Zeding began revealing her true nature. She completely let herself go and no longer concealed anything. She brazenly treated the temple's bank account as her personal wallet, spending whatever she wanted, however much she wanted. She had an extremely luxurious private office built right within the temple grounds. This room was decorated with expensive premium wood, equipped inside with 9 large wardrobes, and an impressive vanity table. On that vanity table were arranged all kinds of high-end skincare cosmetics, imported from France. And those wardrobes were stuffed full of outfits from world-famous luxury brands, along with more than 10 pairs of expensive black leather shoes and an unbelievably large quantity of black stockings. Not only did she have a private office, but Zeding also had a personal bathroom built for herself right in the temple. Inside this bathroom were arranged all kinds of body care and beauty products from internationally renowned high-end brands. The most ironic and puzzling thing was that when the bathroom cabinet was opened, several different wigs and a hairdryer were found carefully stored inside. These were things that someone who had ordained and shaved their head to become a monastic would have absolutely no reason to use. Yet all of this was merely the tip of the iceberg. As Mary continued to investigate more thoroughly, increasingly shocking secrets were exposed one after another. It turned out that on days when there was no temple business, Zeding would change out of her Buddhist robes and don expensive fashionable outfits while carefully applying makeup. She would take her disciples shopping at major malls and dine at upscale restaurants enjoying gourmet meals. Every day when the temple's designated closing time arrived, a luxury 7-seat vehicle would pull up right on time at the temple gate to pick her up. This car would take her straight to a luxurious villa in the Beverly Hills area of Tai Po District. This villa was worth up to 39.5 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 5 million US dollars, and was registered under the name of one of her disciples. Yet this disciple was just an obscure young nun with no reputation or status in the religious community at all. So how could such a person possibly own such an enormous asset? However, Zeding's problems weren't limited to monetary greed. She had also crossed boundaries multiple times in her relationships with men. As someone in Buddhist orders, she should have maintained celibacy and pure cultivation, but she violated these precepts and maintained improper relationships with multiple male devotees. Those who knew revealed that Zeding would often use the excuse of providing guidance or blessing through spiritual connection to privately meet with certain devotees. even secretly meeting male patrons within the temple. All kinds of such behavior caused considerable internal gossip, but because her power within the temple was firmly established, no one dared to openly oppose her. What shocked Mary even more was that, as a temple abbess, she had had two husbands in succession. Moreover, her current husband even held an important position at Polin Monastery. This was truly a blatant disregard for Buddhist precepts. As she continued to trace information, Mary discovered even more shocking truths about Ziding's private life. According to stored marriage registration records on August 17, 2006, Ziding had officially registered her marriage to a young businessman only 23 years old. This man had previously ordained as a monk in mainland China, and through his marriage to Ziding, he had successfully immigrated and settled in Hong Kong. After arriving in Hong Kong, he was even given a Dharma name by Polin Monastery as an officially recognized practitioner. Notably, however, just a short time after registering the marriage, the two quickly filed for divorce. The story didn't end there. On October 29, 2012, Ziding registered for marriage a second time. This time, her marriage partner was a 38-year-old male teacher from mainland China. This man had a similar background. He had also been an ordained monastic, and after coming to Hong Kong, he too was given an official Dharma name by Polin Monastery. Not only that, but he was also arranged to hold a fairly important position in the temple's management system. When registering for marriage, both listed their residential address as an apartment complex in Tai Po district. When Mary directly confronted Ziding about these two marriages, she didn't deny anything, but calmly admitted that both marriages were fake. She explained that the purpose was to help people from mainland China obtain legal Hong Kong residency more easily. Ziding even tried to justify her actions by saying this was a way to attract talent from the mainland to Hong Kong, as if this wrongful act were somehow legitimate and beneficial to society. To further support her findings, Mary also provided multiple audio recordings of direct conversations between herself and Ziding as authentic evidence. In one recording, Ziding directly asked Mary whether she had revealed the sham marriage matter to a monk practicing at Polin Monastery. Then Ziding said matter-of-factly, "I'm a fellow practitioner. Don't report the fake marriage to the police. It's convenient for others and convenient for yourself." In this recorded conversation, she also openly admitted that men who had entered sham marriages with her were currently holding positions at Polin Monastery. Hearing such blatantly shameless words twisting right and wrong from the mouth of someone wearing Buddhist robes, Mary could no longer contain herself. She was furious and immediately declared on the spot that she would take this entire matter to the police for the authorities to handle according to the law. Seeing that there was no longer a way to explain or deny things, Ziding's attitude changed completely in an instant. She turned hostile as fast as flipping a switch, her expression transforming from calm to frighteningly fierce. She looked straight at Mary and coldly threatened, "Don't push me too far. I'm not some meek and mild religious type. If you dare touch me, I swear I will find you and settle the score. I'll kill you." However, Ziding had completely misjudged who she was dealing with. Mary was not an ordinary person easily intimidated. She had been a renowned lawyer, having weathered countless storms in her career. Such threats couldn't possibly frighten her. Without showing any fear or hesitation, Mary calmly turned and walked out of Tingwai Monastery immediately. She drove straight to the nearest police station and submitted all the evidence she had collected throughout her investigation. She officially filed a report on Ziding's illegal activities. At the same time, she also filed a report with the Hong Kong Immigration Department regarding Ziding's suspected organization of sham marriages to help others obtain residency illegally. Not stopping there, Mary proactively called a public press conference. Standing before
Hi,
numerous reporters
Blackbird.
and media representatives, she
Sweetheart,
exposed
I
all the
haven't seen you
vile
in a
and
while.
wrongful acts that Ziding had
Why
committed
you
over
don't
so
call
many
me
years. Regarding the legal aspects of this
Blackbird?
case, relevant lawyers had also spoken up to
Si Bob?
analyze and point out several noteworthy issues. According to Han Chinese Buddhist tradition, unless a person has formally conducted a ceremony
Si
to
Bob?
return to secular life, the precepts clearly stipulate that someone who has ordained is absolutely not permitted to marry. In cases where this precept is violated, Only the temple where that person practices or their master has the authority to issue punishment, with the most severe being
siya nga.
expulsion from the religious order. In August 2016, Mary decided to take even stronger action.
Oh, you change
As a current
your...
director of Tingwai Monastery, she formally filed a lawsuit with the Hong Kong High Court. In the name of Tingwai Monastery Limited, she initiated civil proceedings against Shi Jiding, along with 2 other former directors of the temple. These 2 individuals had previously served together as directors on Tingwai Monastery's board, with one also holding the position of accountant in charge of the temple's finances. They were included in the lawsuit because during their tenure, they were suspected of colluding with Abbess Jiding to embezzle the temple's donation funds. According to the documents filed with the court, all 3 were accused of failing to fulfill their responsibilities and duties as directors, showing signs of improper and non-transparent management, resulting in nearly 10 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 1.3 million US dollars, in devotees' donations disappearing without a trace. This civil lawsuit demanded that all 3 defendants clearly explain the financial flow of that money, while pursuing relevant legal accountability for each person. By 2017, Jiding was officially prosecuted by police on a series of serious charges including embezzlement, aiding illegal residency, and various other violations. Under police supervision and escort, she was taken back to the luxury villa in Beverly Hills to collect personal belongings, and all she was permitted to take was a few articles of clothing. All remaining assets and items in the villa were determined to belong to Tingwai Monastery and were confiscated. The abbess, who once wallowed in piles of money and power after 12 long years of manipulation and exploiting people's trust, had once again returned to having nothing. This scene recalled her own image in 1993, when she first set foot in Hong Kong with nothing to her name. The wheel of life had brought her back to her starting point in shame and disgrace.
My phone is
The image of a pure, unified senior monastic that she had painstakingly built over so many years had now completely collapsed before everyone's eyes. Finally, after reviewing all the evidence and circumstances of the case, the court sentenced Jiding to 15 years in prison for involvement in multiple serious crimes. The court confirmed that she had conducted illegal religious activities, committed fraud and asset misappropriation, along with multiple immigration violation charges, and handled the case strictly according to the law. This incident not only shocked public opinion, but also made many people think more deeply about a troubling issue. When even Buddhist temples, places traditionally considered the purest and most sacred, can produce such corrupt individuals, then what becomes of faith? There had been so many people like Mary who had once deeply revered and admired Abbess Jiding. They looked at her and felt the compassion and dignity of a genuine religious practitioner, viewing her as a shining example of virtue to follow. Yet who could have imagined that a nun with such an outwardly proper and solemn appearance was actually, behind the scenes, an endlessly greedy person living extravagantly off the hard-earned money of sincere devotees? Money and desire ultimately became 2 enormous mountains crushing her. This story reveals a harsh truth. When someone treats the sincere donations of pilgrims as their personal wallet, no matter how high their position in religious circles or how many prestigious Dharma names they receive, none of it can cover up the bottomless greed hidden inside. And that is today's case. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.
Kalain mo, no?
Has antibacterial zinc for up to 24-hour fresh breath. So there's
So
more time for you to get
many
close.
challenging
Close
happen.
up for up to 24-hour fresh breath.
So many not good happening. Ah.
Looks cool, very nice. Good. Okay? 감사합니다.
Do you still want to come over here?
바다에 지금 이 사이리가 태어나서 처음으로 바다에 왔습니다. 여기 지금 전북 군산. 저희가 여기 사실은 사이를 데리고 조금 먼 거리로 왔는데 군산까지 온 이유가 있어요.
No time yet. No time
여기 전주 쪽에 아주 저보다
yet of why. Maybe when I go vacation.
허리까지 하시네. 여기 왔으니까 이제 얘기하기 좀 쉬울 것 같아요. 아니 성의 아버지 때문에 네 꼬라랑 말랐을 때 꼬라가는데 내가 군대라고 안 와서 오늘부터는 너무 기쁘게 얘기할 수 있다. 형님 감정까지 안 넣으셔도 돼요.
So soon you get your passport.
그걸 먹어야 돼. 이런 친구들한테 먹여야 되는데 근데 이건 피스 간섭을 해놓고 간섭 비슷한 해외도 비슷한 그거는 모르지. You try 사시미? 가서 세나 다른 카나다한테 그럼 너 혹시 사이에 여기 피싱? 이거 뭐 누구 거기에 이게 피싱 거네. I want to do have a try? Yes. 오케이. 지금 이제 선유도 스카이워커 쪽으로 가고 있는데 와우 very beautiful. 태어나서 처음 보는 바다의 느낌 어떨까? 또 든단히 last time when you were the first time I saw Ireland देखो 요즘 서비스에서 서니에서 서민들한테 사주 가르는 서사회지 자료 가서 민정거린다 할 before war는 세네지 breaking right.
So many bad.
진짜 너무 예쁜 거 같아 진심으로. 와 이러니까 내 번 안 간다 그러지. 이번 노래는 이미 발생 아니에요. 안녕하세요. 안녕. 사회 인사. 스키는 네팔 친구. KBH 보셨어요? 거기 구독가. I love Korea. I love Korea. 내 코리아인 내려면 인기네. 감사합니다. Thank you very much. 사회 애들이
I got to go to work out my leather shop for a little bit. Give me call when you go time. Okay.
समुद्र देखने के त्यहाँबाट
Oras na ba?
देखनेको लागि Oh, brave man. I'm not scared of height. 이런 거에 대한 그 없대. 와, 형님 진짜 최고다. 날씨까지 도와주고.
Kung maka...
날씨를 많이 안 돼.
Wala na tuloy kong COVID. Oo, meron ka ng ano.
이 다리 위에서 또 낚시를 하는. 꽁치다. 꽁치 싹꽁치. 안녕하세요. 이거 잡아요. 이거 꽁치네. 안녕하세요. 새우로 징계마차 새우. 사일의 첫 바다 여행인 만큼 보는 것으로 만족할 수는 없었습니다. 사장님이 나서서 낚시 포인트도 알려주셨습니다. 비밀이야. 그 아저씨고 내가 전화. 다른 데는 아예 안 온다 안 잡혀요? 제가 전화해도 안녕하세요. 좀 비싸졌어. 와우. 맛있게 드셨어요? 어떻게 나누는지? 오케이. 사일 아버지와 동갑인 제가 오늘의 1일 낚시의 선생님. 오케이. 타자. 슉슉. 노노노노. 텐션. 라인 텐션. 예스. 오케이. 슬로우. 내가 봤을 때 잡힐 것 같아. 한 마리 손맛을 봐야 되는데 사일이가. 오, 잡았어. 와, 나이스. 킹피서 버스란. 받아. 아무래도 주대라 하는 게 이제 봐야 되라고. 대라게 나와야지. 대다 마시라. 야, 좀. 뭐